as a podcaster, it is so important that you are focusing on SEO, search engine optimization. It's important that when you are creating content and you're putting time and effort and attention into creating something, that you are drawing the right people in via these searches. One of the best ways to do that is through keyword research. Our guest, Lauren, today is going to talk through all of that, but from the place of basic, very understood ways that we can make the most of our searches and make the most of getting the attention of our audience without having to worry about social media posts, paying money for ads, or any of those other things that sometimes we just can't do. Please join me in welcoming Lauren to the podcast. Hello, Lauren. Thank you so much for being here. I am so excited to talk to you. If you could start by telling everyone who you are and what you do.
Absolutely. Well, first of all, thank you for having me. I'm really excited to have this conversation. So I am an SEO expert. I hate using that word, but that's what I am. I help solopreneurs and small business owners figure out how to get found on the internet. And it started with my own company. I had an ACT, SAT prep company. And over the course of my 7-year ownership, I grew the organic traffic to 16,000 people per month.
Wow.
Being led to my digital doorstep. And I did that as a solopreneur. I exited that company in 2021, but the hallmark, I think, of that company's revenue growth, it stemmed from really making friends with who I call Uncle Google. So if you can be on his good side, if you can be besties with Goog, then you are on the right track to grow your revenue if you're looking at the full view of SEO and what it can do for you. So I really love this stuff and I love making it accessible. As an SAT and ACT tutor, I made those cryptic tests really accessible for kids. And now I'm doing the same thing, just in a different domain.
I love that so much because so often, especially as business owners and podcasters, we're looking at, I have to be on social media every day. I have to be interacting with people. And there are so many other untapped ways that we can connect with our ideal audience outside of social media, right? Especially as someone who gets very burnt out seeing social media and being on there. And what in the world am I going to work on today on there? What am I supposed to even do or post on there sometimes? This is a way that can continuously push people to your content. So I think it's definitely something that's untapped. And I don't think that enough people talk about it or even consider it as a viable option. And I think the reason is because, like podcasting, it is a long game strategy. It is not a get quick rich scheme. It is not a bringing in thousands of people tomorrow like you would hope that a social media post might do, or a reel might do, or a TikTok might do. This is something that you have to put in effort and time on. And we've had some conversations about SEO in the past, but I'm excited about today's because we're going a little deeper on some very strategic things that we can do to make sure that our SEO is actually working. So let's talk through some of those. What are some of those very starting points of how to optimize our content and get started with SEO?
Absolutely. So it's the best strategy starts before you start moving. There's a lot of ready, fire, aim going on with social. And I think, there's a place to play. You want to have that. But the thing about social is the 24-hour cycle, it drops out the bottom. So if you mess up today, you're going to do it again tomorrow. Fine. Right? You have another chance tomorrow. With SEO, we really want to make sure we've done our homework. We've done our research. Keyword research is critical. And we've done it with an eye on the human on the other side of the screen typing in that query. So really leading with empathy and understanding our ideal avatar and really connecting the dots for them, rolling out the red carpet that leads them to your digital doorstep, and then having a really clear strategy around welcoming them in. So I want to back up a little bit. So when you're doing keyword research, I love Ahrefs. They have a free tool. I use their paid service, but they do have a free tool. It's called the Keyword Generator. And when you go in there, you get some data around the exact kind of language people are using when they are searching for the kind of thing that you offer. And just a real quick example, I have a client who helps people get memberships online, right? He helps people create their membership communities. And the power of that from his perspective is what he used to call recurring income. He did some keyword research and he realized that the language he was using was actually not what his ideal client was using. What his ideal client was using was recurring revenue. And
Mm.
so just by making that slight shift, that same kind of principle of like physical mirroring, how that kind of can ingratiate us to folks and, adds to our know, like, and trust factor. Now he's using language that is more finely honed to the person he's trying to reach and connect with. And it's those slight shifts that you can find in the data that are going to lead you to really big opportunities down the road because it just reduces friction on that buyer's journey. So that's one thing, is to just get the data around what people are actually searching for and then being able to reflect the exact language. So it's coming at SEO, understanding data, which is more technical, hard skill, air quotes there, and then also understanding the buyer's journey and the human who's doing the searching and the psychology around it and leveraging those softer skills to create genuine connection.
So what you're talking about is really understanding the pain points, right? And the thought
Yes.
process of that person, where they are. And I think this is a part where a lot of people get stuck in their businesses of like I've been in the online space for a very long time, like 8 years at this point.
Ooh,
so
decade.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, geez,
we
over
came up
here.
together.
Yes. And so even people who've been in the online space for a long time, they still are like, well, this is what my client needs. This is what they struggle with. They're kind of almost going too deep and making it too complicated. I was having a conversation with a biz bestie the other day where she was like, the people who are struggling with productivity, they need to go back to their values. And I'm like, yes, but they're drowning. Like that is how they feel. They feel overwhelmed. They understand that values are important, but that is not what they're struggling with. They're struggling with, I need a quick fix to help me today to be able to get through today. And so what does that service and that offer look like? Then you take them on the journey to understand how their values can really help them after they're not drowning. They're kind of got their head above water. They're good. Then you move them through. So I think that it's really important when we're doing this keyword research that we have that understanding that we're not talking about this is what they need, because we as the person serving them, we know what they need, but they don't know that they need that at that point, most likely. So what are those things that they're actually looking for, which is where I think this keyword research isn't even just for SEO, right? It's for your content. It's for your podcast episodes. It's for your
100%.
offers. It's to help you get a better understanding of what it is that your person, right, that you want to serve, that you want to encourage and potentially buy from you, right? Because we're all business owners, that you want to help them and support them in. What are they thinking and feeling today to move them through? So I think that's so important that we remember that as you're going through these items and these tasks of like, hey, this is what you can do, but make sure that we're considering it from a point of where is this person today?
100%. So what you just said is spot on and actually leads me to another point about keyword research. Search queries come in a number of different flavors, and it has to do with search intent. Sometimes you're typing in a brand name because you don't know the URL. That's a navigational search query. When Google dishes that up, like, this isn't about finding someone else. This is about finding the thing you wanted. You just didn't know the .com, right? There's also informational queries and transactional queries. And where I see a lot of entrepreneurs go wrong is they try to, when somebody types in like, what is organic marketing? They go in and they try to pitch up a sale off of that information. But what you really want to do is meet the search intent. That person's looking for free information on the internet about what organic marketing is, understanding it, just getting that little bite-sized piece of clarity. And you can also offer transformation by having a really optimized and aligned offer for a free resource. That person doesn't have a credit card in their hand. However, if they're searching for organic marketing courses have value. They probably have a credit card in their hand. That's a transactional query. And those are your sales pages. Those are where you optimize a sales page to bring people in and not just give them like, oh, and here's a free resource, right? When they're looking for a course, that's where you can have like, and buy now. And so I always say informational queries need nurturing. Transactional queries need assurances. So
Mm.
the nurturing process, this is how SEO connects with your email list, how you can like drive more people to your email list. That's through informational queries. You know the questions that your ideal clients are asking. Start looking for the language that they actually use when asking for it, because sometimes they don't know your solution. Sometimes your curse of knowledge keeps you from using the language that actually ingratiates you to the novice, to someone who's new here, but who has a problem you know how to solve. But on the transactional side, you don't want to be directing people off that sales page. You want to drive people to that sales page, make buy now a really clear offer throughout, and then reduce friction by putting your return policy, talking about how you have secure processing through your payment processor, having FAQs, testimonials, all those best practices for conversion. And ultimately, if you do this, yes, the people who come in through the informational track, you will ultimately pitch them because they're on your email list. You're going to ultimately expose them to the fact that you support through a paid offering. But they need more information before they're going to be in a place where they're ready to buy. They need more convincing. Whereas if somebody's looking for what you offer and sell, by all means, sell it on an SEO optimized sales page. The beauty of Google as compared to social is that you get to find people when they are ready to find you, when they need what you have to offer. Whereas social, you're kind of running into people whenever you chose to produce something. SEO is like the ultimate permission marketing tool because people literally asked for what you do. You just have to know the language they're using, and that's how you can make that connection.
So when it comes to podcasting and creating podcast content, right? And obviously we can put our podcast content on, and this can be interchangeable with blogging, video,
Yes.
things like that, right? Because these are long games. This is not we're going to get thousands of listeners tomorrow. Most likely not.
Yeah.
Sorry, not sorry. It just doesn't happen that way.
Yeah.
So with that in mind, how can we make sure that the content we're creating, whether that's through our podcast, our videos, or through our blogs, is optimized in this way with that keyword? How do we come up with potentially ideas for the content that we're going to create?
So once you've done the keyword research, and when you do that, you want to focus on low keyword difficulty and relatively high volume. Anything above 150 searches a month is good. But keyword difficulty, you want it, if you can get single digits, you want that. Under 25 for sure, especially for a new site. Once you know the keyword you are targeting, you don't want to do what's called keyword stuffing, which means you just say that keyword. Like every sentence has that keyword in it. That's bad. Don't do that. You want to write for humans. You want to write for the human behind that query and really tap into empathy around the pain points you know, and really connect with that person and bring them through a transformation. The beautiful thing about writing for humans is that Google is linguistically talented, right? Google understands language. So if you start using slight variations of that keyword, think about keywords that relate to it, that you know are part of the problem that person is trying to solve. You can actually write content that includes that in the copy. And instead of just targeting the one keyword you knew, suddenly you'll see all these keywords start to pop up because there's related, right? Google understands how things are connected. So when you are writing your posts, think about a human coming onto your page and trying to read. Don't do wall of text, right? You want to use headers, H2s through H6s on your page, bulleted lists. Make sure that it's engaging. I always try to land people with your next right step is, and that's my free opt-in. And that helps boost behavior metrics. So when people get to the bottom, and you can have a pop-up that does this too, there's ways to automate this, the correct offer for that particular channel of content is providing a free resource. And then that person goes through to a thank you page. This shows Google somebody visited 2 pages. When they came to you from the internet, they went to 2 pages. If they opted in, send an email that has links back to your site. Oh, look, this person who just found me through Google has come back to my site 3 times or has hit 3 pages. That is really key indicator for Google that you are dishing up the kind of content that person actually wanted. It shows that you're engaged with this person. And this kind of goes to something we spoke about, a term I've coined. It's the Nostradamus effect that you can create on your website when you are going through and writing content that engages people. It's got SEO best practices in the mix. And then those people continue to connect with you. It shows that you really saw the human behind that search query. It wasn't just about data. You were able to tap into the language, the pain points. You engaged them. It's like opening up the door to your home and welcoming people in and saying, I've got a safe space for you to like snuggle up and feel all warm and cozy. And even if you don't provide a very serious service, you can still do this with the fun stuff too and say, I see you wanting to have the most amazing Disney vacation. Hey, I'm a Disney travel planner. I do this stuff for free. I'll get you better deals and you won't have to do any of the crazy planning that goes into planning a Disney vacation. Come on in, get a free quote. I can help you, right? Even though that's a fun thing, like there's still a way to make that messaging land. And it's like you're reading their mind when you give voice to pain points and solutions and create that transformation for folks.
So pretty much what you're saying is like doing your content, creating your content as yourself, right? You don't. This is where I think that a lot of the like AI stuff, well, I think a lot of the tools are so incredible, right? They make our lives easier and simpler in some ways, but you can't just say, hey, chat, please write this blog post for me. No, please, please don't do that.
Yes.
No, especially now that Google is finding where those are and then docking you for that, right? We don't want that to happen to you guys. And even for the podcast content, when we are talking, and I think that this is where podcasting is so unique in that you're using your voice to express yourself. You're using these emotions that you can create in your listener, but you can't always do that in written content. So how can you kind of make that happen, right? Make your reader feel these feelings that you can evoke with your voice. And I think that's really important. But what you said, I want to tie it back to the idea of making sure that you're taking them to that next best step, right? So you're not going to say, say you're a dog trainer. I love using dog trainers as examples because it's just so random and it works. So say you're a dog trainer and you've got a blog post on how to help your small dog, right? Be trained, whatever. I don't know enough about dog training at all to be able to be an expert in this. So then at the bottom, you have these are the top mistakes freebie that you're probably making with your big dog. Obviously, it does not apply. That person is like, wait, what? No, that's not what I need.
I landed somewhere that makes no sense.
Exactly. You got to take them on the correct next journey, right?
Yes.
In order to encourage them to. Otherwise, they're going to be like, well, I got the information I need, moving on. And I think that's really important. I've also seen people do this, and I don't know if I love the way they do this. I've seen people do it where they will say at the very top, almost, not directly at the top, but very close to the top of their blog post, they'll say, for more reasons on this topic, which is similar to this one, they'll have a list of blog posts that they've done, where it's like a whole section, right, of additional blog posts, where I feel like that kind of can take your reader a little too far down the rabbit hole, right? Yes. Like get them the content they need. But if there is a topic or a subtopic in there where it's like, oh, if you also have questions on this, we have a really in-depth thing on this topic. Here you go, right? So example, I'm thinking about, we have a blog post where I talk about how to launch a podcast. And then one of my team members, who's our lead editor, did a blog post on how to make your audio really great. Obviously, I'm not going to go super into depth on launching your podcast and go into the audio side, but in the section of recording your podcast episode, I could say, if you're needing help with your audio, you're struggling with getting your audio done, you can always check out this blog post that we have and then link it back to the additional content we have, right? So like, I feel like that one, the second one, would make more sense than having a whole list of the blog posts. What are your thoughts?
So I totally agree with you. However, I'm going to give you a refinement point that will actually help your SEO even more. So internal linking is another thing that's really important. So when I start working with clients or in my course, what I do is I tell folks you need to think about the verticals of content that you address. So on my site, I talk about naming your purpose. I talk about SEO, and I talk about supporting digital entrepreneurs. So that's things like a mastermind, mindset stuff, entrepreneurial workshops that I host that are on everything from email marketing to courses and memberships, the whole thing. So I have those 3 content verticals, and each of those drives to a different opt-in. Right. And then within those verticals, I've organized it hierarchically with my URLs as well. But the more important thing is saying to Google, hey, if I'm talking about purpose, I'm going to link to other posts within that content vertical. And you've got to show Google kind of like the web behind. Like, how does your ecosystem talk? And so if I keep my streams relatively separate, Google knows what things track with what things. I can talk about different topics because I'm clear about which things are interlinking. So the suggested post sort of towards the top is sort of a quick way to do that. The more other focused approach is what you're talking about. And what you're actually leveraging is a pillar post sort of strategy where you have a singular pillar post, and that singular pillar post sort of interlaces with other contents. You can go deeper. That's absolutely, hub and spoke is something else that it's often called. And that's absolutely something you should be doing on your site and saying, listen, if you want to launch a podcast, that's a great keyword for you. This is how you do it. Here's some steps. And what I would recommend is as you're doing that interlinking work, you're saying, go check out this blog post and probably hyperlinking that. What I would say is try to weave it more natively into your text and then hyperlink the keywords that other post is trying to rank for. So you can say something along the lines of, you can get even better audio quality with these tips. And better audio quality with these tips is highlighted and interlinking to the other post. Now you'd want to like find the actual keywords and like maybe judge that a little bit. But the idea is we're not saying go here and highlighting the word here and pointing to another post. We are using the exact keywords we're trying to rank that other page for. And this is really always great to go back in your content and link forward. So if you have an older post, like that audio post, you can go back to that and say, want more tips about launching your podcast? And highlight that. Or we also have amazing tips for launching your podcast, and highlight tips for launching your podcast and pushing that forward. So it's cyclical, but what you're building is a scaffolding so that the bots understand what's going on. And the humans, listen, we're what year is it? 2024? We all know what a hyperlink is. Like, yes. You don't have to explain that anymore. The internet is common knowledge. Like, just hyperlink it. As long as your hyperlinks are clear, they're not like masked in some way, like you don't underline or change the color. Folks get what that means. So just like roll with giving yourself keyword research. And this is where podcasters can alley-oop their guests, because I just did a show for somebody and they had included that I have an online mastermind for entrepreneurs. And they were like, go to laurengaggioli.com. And I was like, hey, can you actually use that hyperlink that text and point directly to the mastermind page? That would be really helpful. Thank you. And she did it. She was like, oh, I'm totally happy to do that. So there's a lot of best practices that if we all learn about this, rising tides lift all ships. 91% of web pages on the internet do not get traffic from organic search. 91. So you just have to be better than like 9%, or like in the company of 9%. It's a real low bar. So if you start doing some of the things right, I promise you can get on the board.
Yeah. Wow. What are some things that we should consider, especially as business owners and podcasters and content creators and like all the things? What are some things that maybe some mistakes that we're potentially making now that we can mitigate to get on the board?
Yeah, absolutely. So you hit the nail on the head talking about AI. Yeah, there's great tools. I'm kind of an AI naysayer. Not that it's not going to take off, but I don't have time to play around with it while it's still in its nascent stages. AI, figure yourself out, and then somebody show me a really clean and clear workflow, and then I'll leverage it. Like I don't have time to play. My systems right now work, so I'm just going to keep doing it the way I'm doing it. And then once I have a reason to change, and I'm relatively sure that company's not going under tomorrow, once I shift everything over to that platform, then I will play. So I'm still a little old school, I guess. I'm very like doing it, DIY it. So I think that really goes to like the personality, right? You need to establish your own authority, and backlinks is a great way to do it. So a lot of people are trying to like build their website and build their social and like do it kind of in a vacuum. I highly recommend connecting with others as much as possible. We're on Podmatch to connect with other podcasters. It's a fantastic platform for doing that. Reach out to people, collaborate, come up with ways to feature them on your show, do guest posts for other people. Really think about the fact that if your site has no inbound links, Google doesn't understand who you are, what you stand for, whether other people trust you. And so we have this opportunity for collaboration. And I see so many people trying to do like cult of personality and I am the lone person on the mountaintop. It's like, no, like more people in, like just make friends and you
Yes.
guys can help each other. That's what it's all about. I love that you use the term biz bestie because that is absolutely something you need. You need lots of them. And trust your gut. Like when you meet somebody on the internet, you're like, you're cool. Go with it. Trust that. You don't have to, like, there's no barrier to entry here. Just connect and support one another. So I think that's really number one. Number two, and maybe you should do two first and then do the collaboration. Really make sure your website is strong. And what I mean by that, like I have a free mini course, a DIY audit. I highly recommend people go through because you don't know what you don't know. And if you are not looking at your website in the way that a bot does, like if the hierarchy, if the foundation is not strong, it doesn't matter how much content you put on there, it's not going to go anywhere if you are not sure that you are building on a firm bedrock. And so if folks want to do that, they can come over to my website. It's at laurengaggioli.com/DIY audit. Take you straight to the opt-in 3-part mini series. It's about 30 minutes and you will have a better understanding of where your site stands today. And you can benchmark your site and then from there, you can figure out how you want to grow. So I highly recommend understanding where you're starting from, and you might find that you need a little love on your website. You might need to address the fact that your images are probably not loading correctly. I've seen it take 15 seconds for sites to load because their images are just inappropriately sized and not served up in a WebP. Like there's some technical stuff you might have to jump over, some technical hurdles, but if you jump over 1 or 2 of them when you have 5, you're doing better than 91% of the websites on the internet. So do it. It's absolutely a way for you to stand out. And then I think the other thing is like the technical stuff is a really big hang up for folks. If you're not yet indexed, meaning your site is not showing up in Google, you need to figure it out. And one way that you can do that is by going to Google Search Console and signing up for your account. Google Search Console is different than Google Ads, is different than Google Analytics. You are not automatically indexed if you just have some Google properties, which, Google does not make it easy. But you can submit your sitemap. You can verify your website through your host, and then you can go and connect that account to Bing Webmasters, and then you're getting found in all the search engines. So highly, highly recommend that you take care of business on the technical side, because if you don't, you're throwing good energy and good time after bad. Like if people can't find you when they need you, what are we even doing? And I will tell you, it does take time. It took me about 1.5 years of quality and consistent content creation. It doesn't have to be crazy, 1 or 2 posts a month. Fine. Podcasting counts as a post as long as you provide supporting documentation around like a quality post around your episode. But after 1.5 years, I got found in Google, and then I was up to about 16,000 people per month on average. And then about 1.5 years into that, I stopped creating content because I had my baby, and Google rewarded me for another 1.5 years. So I had consistent income because Google kept sending me prospects. Like he can be your very best inbound lead generator. Like he can be your number 1 sales guy, and you can do it for free. Hello. Like you don't need an ad spend. It's not going to drop out the bottom of the social algorithm bucket tomorrow. It's harder to get in his good graces initially, but once you do, exponential growth is possible. And as long as you are consistent, he will not take it away from you. As long as you continue dishing up good content, the algorithm is always attuned to elevating quality content in search. And we just know that is not the play on social platforms. The algorithm is not always attuned to elevating the best content. In fact, I'd say it rarely is. So I would rather know the data going in so I can create quality content and then just trust that Google is going to start sending me leads.
Yeah. And your time is so much better spent, right? I mean, we are constantly on social media fighting for attention when people are just there for dopamine hits, honestly, right?
Yes.
Or like that's all they're there for is they want the dopamine hit. And that's why I think podcasting is just so powerful because someone is saying, I want to spend the next 30 minutes with you. It's not, oh, I'm here for scrolling and funny reels. Like that's not what they're there for. So if you can get someone on your website, they're there for that. They're there for you. They're not there for dopamine hit that they're just going to keep scrolling through. So I think it's worth it.
I always say Zuck dishes out dopamine hits and Goog dishes out serotonin snuggles. And I will take the serotonin snuggles all day long. Oh my gosh. I love that you said that. That's hilarious. I feel such affinity with you.
Right.
I think I may have a new biz bestie.
There we go. Love it. Well, this has been so incredible. Where can people find you? I know you've mentioned some links. We'll make sure that we have those in the show notes on our blog post, backlinks to you, as well as in the show notes on your podcast players. If you're listening and on YouTube, we'll have those as well. So where can people find you, hang out with you if they did miss those links before? Then we'll make sure we have those. And then you also have something to offer people as well.
I do. So my website is my name, laurengaggioli.com. Everything lives there. Technically for SEO, I should have split off the purpose side of it. But you know what? I am one woman and I don't have time for that. So I just use quality, hierarchy, strong website build, and we're just going to trust that that's going to do the thing. So yeah, if you go there, everything is there. The DIY website audit, the course I'm going to mention in just a minute, all of it lives there. However, laurengaggioli.com/DIY audit will take you straight to that mini course, allow you to opt in for that, and I will support you through that journey. The other thing that I have is a course about SEO. And this is evergreen. It's always open because people find you when they need you, and I don't like closing doors. So come on in anytime you feel you're ready to do it. Basically, I start with content organization. We leave the technical stuff to the end. That's the thing. It's a huge hurdle, and most SEO courses start there. And I think that's a big mistake. This is built on the Pareto principle. Can you do the 20% that moves the needle 80% of the way? That is the entire impulse behind creating this course. I want to make it super accessible, not technical, very few roadblocks. I want you to see how you can create content that will resonate and elevate your ideal prospect. I want you to be able to help the people who need you because there are people who need you. And so it's about not just driving traffic, but increasing your revenue and make that full arc as part of the program. So that is the organic marketing ecosystem course. And you can get a 15% discount if you use Alicia's code L2L. So L, the number 2L. And if you go, you can find it on laurengaggioli.com, but you'll go straight to it if you go to organicmarketingecosystem.com. So if you're interested, you want to learn more, I would love to support you through that process.
Awesome. And yes, we'll make sure we have links for that as well in the show notes. If someone is driving or doing other stuff, you'll make sure that we have that. Thank you so much, Lauren. This has been so much fun, and we're definitely going to stay connected because many synchronicities.
That is happening.
Thank you.